Since Ethan Crumbley has pleaded guilty to his crime and been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and Jennifer Crumbley has been convicted of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and James Crumbley trial is something coming. I want to review Jennifer Crumbley's trial and look at some of the things that I can kind of predict and guess that are going to be similar between the two trials. So let's get going. So, what do I know about our judicial system? Not much, other than a plaintiff, defendant, and a jury decides the facts of the case. But I do watch a lot of sidebar podcasts from Law and Crime. I do watch Bruce Rivers' Criminal Lawyer Reacts, and I watch Justice Matters with Glenn Kirshner to get a thing about certain judicial and analysts. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to view it as if I were sitting on a jury for these trials. And I know for a fact that there's no way that I would be asked to sit on a jury for Jennifer Crumbley or even for James Crumbley trial because of how I think and because of what I look at. Starting with, first of all, I just couldn't understand why Jennifer Crumbley in the defense would make a motion on why they should bring out all the evidence. Nothing should be suppressed, everything should come out from their text, their social media. And I watched a sidebar podcast, and what their guest said is that perhaps they didn't want to have the jury think that they were hiding anything. I had to think about that. Aren't all juries told that they must presume the defendant innocent? So why would a defense have to be concerned that they're hiding something? Why don't they ask themselves if the prosecution's hiding something? Because of the fact that prosecutions, there's two jury instructions. One, that a jury cannot do any outside research. Two, that they have to focus on the evidence and testimony presented. But I feel prosecutors have very great magical abilities to show you evidence and then make it seem more than what it is. And Jennifer Crumbley's case is a perfect example of that because Jennifer Crumbley, during the closing arguments, the prosecutor made a note that said that they have a right to run their defense however they want. We have an obligation and a job and a duty to show you the facts of the case. What they wanted to say is that we want to, our job is to show you the facts we want you to see. I'm not downgrading all prosecutors. There are great prosecutors out there that really do a good job at getting evidence around the case. But there's some prosecutors, like the case with Jennifer Crumbley, because you look how discovery is handled. Who makes the Let's ask a couple questions. Who makes an allegation against a defendant? Who does the initial investigation for the defense? And who handed over the discovery that they found during their investigation to the defense? The state of Michigan in all cases, which is fine. I mean, that's how our judicial system is set up. But you know what I think is another waste? Get rid of the NTSB. They're useless. What I think should happen is that any plane crash, any plane disaster, any rail disaster, any derail train crash, anything that has to do with travel, the airline, the railroad, the cruise line, just do your own investigation. See what's it all. You know what? Because I trust you. Arrogant? Stupid nonsense. You gotta be kidding, Brian. What the heck? That's what our judicial system does. Apparently, it works fine. No one has a problem with it. No, with Jennifer Crumbley, apparently the prosecution had everything that they needed to convict her, except they needed to prove one element, and that is negligence on the part of the parents. Knowledge that her son was planning this and just turned a blind eye. How did they accomplish this? And I expect they're going to do the same thing with James Crumbley. Is they're going to bring in Ethan's journal, and they're going to have the detective read out from that journal about that I want to shoot up the school. I'm going to spend the rest of my days in prison. My parents don't have any clue about the mental health. I've got mental problems they're not addressing, and all this stuff that they did in Jennifer Crumbley trial. Now, Jennifer Crumbley testified that she didn't know anything about the journal. The only time that she knew about the journal was when it was given to her in discovery, and she thought it was really disturbing. And the prosecutor, slick. I really liked them. They were really slick. They kept on asking during cross examination, why didn't you search out for this journal? Why didn't you search out his room? Why did you buy your son a gun when he was feeling like this? How are they supposed to search for something that they didn't know existed? When he was feeling like this, you have all these horses. You take care of all these horses. You love to ride and stuff. This takes a lot of money from time from your son. Holy cow. Parents have a life outside of their children. Parents have hobbies. Oh, give them the max sentence on all counts. The day of the shooting, they texted a picture that showed some disturbing details that they caught Ethan drawing at school. They call the parents in. They want the parents to see if they should take their son home, have him spend the day at home, have a talk. But she had to get back to work. Oh my gosh. Parents have a job. The testimony is I think it would be best for him to stay with his peer group. For one, it may give him a social outreach. Two, they had a gun at home. Three, they didn't want Ethan to go searching for the gun. Small problem. If the teacher were so concerned with that drawing and with the firearm that was pictured in that drawing, if they would have opened up the locker or searched his bag, they would have found the gun in his possession. And then they would have had probable cause to call the parents and stuff, say, hey, look, do you have a firearm? Because we found a firearm at your son at school. Well, now, you can suspend them, you can do whatever you want. And because you have safety of children at stake, prosecution was always intent on making more about the statements than what was added. For example, Jennifer Crumbley, during closing arguments, they made a remark that Jennifer Crumbley's testimony is evidence. And she said right there, I wouldn't change a thing. Well, what did she testify? That she wouldn't change anything. Well, the husband and the mother took, hid the bullets, hid the gun, bought a clamp lock, tried to discipline their son as best they could, talk, talk to him, talk, with them, try to figure out what was going on. And what evidence did they ever show that Ethan Crumbley said to his parents that I am depressed? I feel like I'm going to go off. I feel like I just need to go shoot something or shoot somebody. Where is that in the testimony? Where was that in the evidence? Jennifer Crumbley, I believe a statement was made that just don't get caught because he was looking up at ammunition and stuff on his phone. Well, just don't get caught looking up bullets on the phone. After the shooting, she made the comment, I believe, he's just got to suffer. There's a whole book of mental health problems in his diary. So what was she referring to? He's got to suffer through his mental health problems or have to suffer for the consequences that he just did. Any moron with a brain can see she meant that it was the consequences of what he did that he has to suffer for. The jury cannot do any outside research. I completely understand that. So, what facts didn't they show the jury? What facts didn't they bring back in evidence? Ethan pleaded guilty. There was no plea agreement on the table. It was him taking accountability for what he did. Maybe he wanted to save the headache from the family and the victims of going into trial. Maybe he wanted to take accountability. But during his sentencing, he said a couple things. One, we are here because of me. Two, this had nothing to do with my parents. I love them. I'm just a bad kid. One, I really don't buy that. I think Ethan made a big bad mistake, but that's another story. Why didn't the prosecutor bring that in? We didn't offer him a plea agreement. He pleaded guilty. He said very clearly that he that the parents had nothing to do with it, that it was something he chose to do. Why didn't they bring that in? Maybe that would have convinced the jury that the parents didn't see this coming, didn't know about it. In that, no way making light of this situation because it was tragic. But I think the way that the prosecution in the state of Michigan handled this was just ridiculous. Because let's say, I mean, the journal had all his filings about mental health, mental illness. So he was aware of it in the journal. So what if Ethan Crumbley would have pleaded not guilty by reason of mental illness or mental insanity? Now, I believe he still would have been convicted after trial. But my point is that the prosecution would, without a doubt, shown that he was stable, he was competent, and he made the choice. And then a month later, they would have proceeded to the parents' trial. And they would have argued the exact opposite. They would have argued now that he had mental health, mental problems, and you still decided to get this for him. I don't think the system is bad. I don't think all prosecutors are bad, but I do believe that the people that run our system are blind to the truth and they want to shop and they are going to hunt for the very thing that they're looking for. I understand that the victims, the families, they want justice. And I understand that the prosecutors want to make the state of Michigan safer. But where is it going to end? Ethan Crumbley pleaded guilty, sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Well, that wasn't enough. So let's go after the parents for involuntary manslaughter. After the parents, what's next? Well, you know what? There has been school shootings and stuff since 1990. I still remember when they had the Columbine. I still remember with the Sandy Hook Elementary School, the Parkland shooting. There has been hundreds upon hundreds of school shooting incidents in this country over the course of the last, what, 30 years? Why wasn't the school better prepared? When they saw the gun drawing, why didn't they go to the bag and start to ask the parents question about if they had a gun? What kind was it? About the drawing? But why stop there? Why not go after the gun store? Because the gun store sold them the gun and stuff. They should have done a better job at looking at the Crumbleys as far as if they were capable of owning a gun, doing a mental, psych eval, and everything. Well, you know what? But they have to really prosecute the state of Michigan, because the state of Michigan had gun things going on. Remember in 2020 when they had a riot at the state capitol to pressure the governor about the elections and had guns and everything in there? Why didn't they make that immediate safety right now? So let's sue the state of Michigan. Where does it stop? Comment, and I'll see you next time.